So hello everyone, my name is Flocky Flo, and I watched Moddog's 1021 patch preview yesterday and got a lot of thoughts about the item changes that are upcoming and thought why not do a short video on it to explain my thoughts and what I think could maybe change in the new meta, especially with Luden's Echo and Statikk Shiv. But first, let's check what actually changes. So here are some screenshots from Moddog's video. So Chalice will get a little bit stronger. I'm not pretty sure if that will change a lot. Of course, it's better now, but if you think about who uses this item, it's mainly, or who could benefit from this item, it's of course spell power champions such as mages or Dusk. I don't think that Dusk need the additional spell power if you have 6 Dusk, for example, and I think mages, your carries with Ari and Vega already have a lot of damage. I don't know if they need the additional damage, but I think it's still a good change. Stoneblade gets a little bit better, 15 armor and magic resistance. Let's see if that makes a huge difference. I think that was okay because I felt like the item was not overpowered. I think it was in a good state. I didn't see a need for a buff, but let's see if it's maybe now a little bit stronger. What is very interesting is the way they buffed Locket. So Locket is now so much stronger. I can see this being really good, for example, in the Vanguard Mystic Ari comp. I play that myself quite often, so I can see that being really good. For example, if you go for a 3-star Garen early on and you have like a 600 shield for your frontline, that's actually insane. So I expect some Locket meta to see. Maybe also with Moonlight, where you go for maybe even a 4-star, something like that. So I think maybe you give like a shield to your backline, to assassins, something like that. I think Locket could be really, really good. It might be even a little bit too strong. I'm especially scared of this 600 and 800 shield. I mean, the 800 shield will not happen as often. Luden's Echo. I mean, let's be honest, Luden's Echo was probably the worst item in the game. So what they're gonna change is it makes a little less damage, but now, like Statikk Shiv, it will do bonus damage if you hit a shielded or crowd control champ. I think the difference is that with Statikk Shiv it's true damage, and here I think it's not true damage but magic damage. I'm not sure. I think that's what I recall from the video. It's not 100% clear, as this is of course not the official patch notes. We go later into Luden's Echo a little bit more. Quicksilver gets reduced. I think that is very important. Quicksilver felt a little too strong. It was quite frustrating when you couldn't CC the units for 12 seconds. I also think that some units, for example Lux, will get much stronger now, because Divine is stronger now, and actually Lux, if you position her right, is the perfect snipe for the carries that are like located in the corners. And Aatrox could also be much more dangerous if he gets to ult a second time. Statikk Shiv, we will go into that also a little bit more in detail later. What they increased a lot is the bonus damage, so that if it hits a crowd controlled or shielded enemy, it does 175 bonus true damage, which is really a lot. Zeke's, I think it's fine. I think Zeke's was also one of the weaker items, so I can understand that they buffed it. This might be nice for some comps, maybe even with assassins to give them more attack speed, or with mages to make them ult faster. I'm not really sure on which comp this will be an absolute go-to item, but maybe I'm just not seeing this. I mean, no one thought in last set or like the set before in set 3 that Kha'Zix with Zeke's would be so strong, and all of a sudden everyone was playing it. Zz'rot Portal, I think I'm a little bit worried. I think the taunt thing is really cool. So I think that was a really good addition, that you say, hey, this person now gets taunted. I think there are some really cool mechanics. You could do it with an assassin who jumps to the back, or you can do it with a frontliner that you want to get attacked more and ult maybe faster. I'm a little bit scared of the 150 AD crap that comes out of the portal, especially in the early game. I mean, it's then as strong as or even a little bit stronger than a Galio, so I'm not really sure. Let's see. Maybe I'm just a little bit too scared. But overall, I think great changes. And now let's go a little bit deeper into the bigger changes of Luden's Echo and Statikk Shiv. Before we go or explain what I think which units or which champs could be good with those two items, let's have a look at where do you actually get crowd control from in 1021 or in this set. You see there are a lot of possibilities for crowd control. I think that's something that everyone kind of knew. There's a lot of CC in this patch, or in this set, let's say it more like this. And I just try to put them in some categories. So we have a lot of stuns, knock-ups, or knockbacks. And then we have some sleep, blind, fear, disarm, which is a little bit more specific. We have taunts, attack speed slow, and attack damage reduction, which I'm not sure if it counts as a crowd control. The same goes for Morgana, Silas, and Biold. I wasn't sure if they all count as CC, so I didn't mention them here. It was actually really hard for me to find out what is considered crowd control and what is not considered crowd control. Maybe I was just looking at the wrong places, or maybe it's something that is clear to everyone, but when I started to think about it really in detail, it got a little bit more difficult. So first of all, that was nice for me to see and to categorize the different crowd controls to get a little bit of an overview. I think that was very helpful. And what I did now is I looked at Luden's Echo and what champions could really benefit from the changes it gets. So I put in the changes below. So when the holder casts their spell, the first target dealt magic damage, and up to 3 nearby enemies are dealt an additional 180 magic damage. There's 180 bonus damage to shielded or crowd control champs. This will probably not be the official patch notes, I just took it out from the video. So what I did here is I highlighted those champs that I think could benefit really well from the Ludens. Mainly those champs that have a AoE disable will be really, really good with Ludens. The only exception I put in here is Fiora, because I think in the early game it could be quite nice if you have some Duelists. She will ult quite often, she has a lot of attack speed, so that's, I think, the only single target single target ult that I put in here from the original list. I especially think that Luden's Echo will be really good on Jinx, on Sejuani, and on Jax. So those three, I think, will be the units we will see most of with Luden's Echo. I mean, imagine Sejuani has a Morello, a Luden's Echo, and then give her just another tanky item, maybe even a Zz'rot Portal. She will do a lot of damage, and in the Vanguard Mystic comp, this could really boost the damage even higher, and then you're less reliant on your Ari to do all the damage. And then I mentioned I nearly forgot about that, so I was like, ah yeah, true, Frozen Heart can also CC enemy units, and I thought about, okay, which units are there where I could see the combination of Frozen Heart and Luden's Echo to be quite effective. And the two very logical champions would be Akali and Riven, because they have a very low mana pool, so they ult quite often. So it could work with them really well. And I think with Diana it could also be nice. She has a little bit more mana, but let's say she's surrounded by several enemies, like her orbs will hit also several enemies. So that could also increase her damage a lot. Again, I'm not sure if you will see that as often. Maybe, let's see. I think what is great is you could build Luden's Echo nearly on every one of those champions. I just create those also I think are not as good. And with some, I wasn't sure if it will work. So for example, I don't think it can work with Shen, because he doesn't deal damage with his ult. But again, here you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15 champions that I think Luden's Echo is a good item, maybe even a strong items on some of them, and that is a great change. If that is true, what I kind of anticipate, then this Luden's Echo change is really good, because it all of a sudden gives more flexibility to 15 champions, and I think that is really what an item should do. That it's not just like super niche, or not even let's say valid for any of the champions. Last thing is who could benefit from the Statikk Shiv carriers. So first I thought, yeah, it's the same units that I put on the list before. But then I thought, no, wait a minute. Let's take the example of Jinx. If your Jinx attacks and she then ults, it doesn't mean that the Statikk Shiv will also proc. First of all, because her ult doesn't count as an auto attack anymore. Second of all, you don't know if she will be able to attack enough times or the exact amount of times, whatever, while the enemy is stunned. So it could be really good on her, but it's not always. It will not always work that she will use her ult and also proc the Statikk Shiv. This can sometimes work and sometimes not. But however, to make Statikk Shiv work is, first of all, you should have some units or some items that provide some crowd control. If you have none of those units, it will be hard, or none of those items will be hard to get the extra damage from the Statikk Shiv. And then I thought about which carries or which champs could be really good as Statikk Shiv carriers, and usually it has also been like that in the past. Think of Pikachu build in set 3 or 3.5. It's usually high attack speed carries. So either carries that have a huge base attack speed, that use Rageblade, Duelists that stack also their attack speed. So I made like 4 examples. I'm not saying that's like a definite list. So you could, for example, Aphelios, who increases his attack speed also with his ult. So that could be interesting, and with his turrets as well. This could be really strong. Fiora, especially in the early game, she has a high base attack speed. So this could be really nice if you, for example, have 4 Duelists and you throw in a Statikk Shiv on her. Jinx, definitely, if you put a Rageblade on her. Without Rageblade, it's a little bit more difficult, so she needs 2, Rageblade and Statikk Shiv. And Kalista is more or less the same than Fiora. I think on her it's even better. Let's say you build a rapid fire cannon, you put her in the corner, protect her. She will attack a lot. She does not need to move a lot. She's protected, and I think she will do a lot of extra damage. One unit that I forgot, now that I think about it, is also Ashe, who also has like a very high attack speed due to her ult. So it could also be very, very strong on Ashe. And then, like the first 2, you really definitely need those. Ideally, you want to have an AoE crowd control like Sejuani or Pyke, something like that. And let's say you are in a lobby where you have a lot of enemies going for, let's say, a shield strat, which I think currently is not a real strat, but let's say someone is playing, for example, Dusk, and they are having a lot of shields, or you have a lot of mage opponents who play Annie and who play Veigar with a Hextech Gunblade. So then they have some more shields, and then the Statikk Shiv could also be a good counter to it. Probably not the best counter, but also not the worst. And if ever Keeper gets to be a strong standalone comp or main comp, it will also be very strong against Keeper in the beginning of the fight. I mean, once the shield is gone, it's not as good. So that is where you have to rather rely on your crowd control than your enemy having shields on them. So what you can see, Duelists and I think Sharpshooters and Hunters really benefit from the Statikk Shiv changes. On top of that, I think that the Luden's Echo changes also benefits Jinx and Fiora. So I would not be surprised if maybe Duelists and Sharpshooters are being played a little more if the items are as strong as I expect them to be. Especially the Luden's Echo change. I think this can have a real impact on the game. Maybe not in the late game, but in the early and mid game, this should be really, really, really strong. I will definitely try it out. But for now, let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think I have the right champs on my list, or did I forget something? Or maybe do you say you don't think those changes will make a big impact? Just let me know in the comments. And if you want to see Wednesday when the patch goes live, I will probably play it on my stream. So if you have time, come and drop in and help me figure out the new meta and the new items. Thank you, have luck with your climb, and see you soon.